Vamos a dar comienzo a esta segunda sesión y vamos a comenzar con una conferencia titulada Price Papers and Maritime Global History, Exploring Global Connections Through Captured Correspondence. Esta presentación va a ser llevada a cabo por el doctor Lucas Haasis. Es un historiador especializado en la historia marítima global de la temprana edad moderna, con intereses de investigación que abarcan la migración forzada, el corso, la materialidad de la historia, la microhistoria global y las humanidades digitales. Actualmente disfruta de un año sabático como investigador senior en el Museo Marítimo Alemán, Instituto Leibniz de Historia Marítima de Bremerhaven. Anteriormente hemos estado comentando un poco sobre Bremerhaven y el fantástico museo que es, así que les invitamos a todos a que lo visiten. Por cierto, Bremerhaven, aunque parezca que es el puerto de Bremen, no está en Bremen y está bastante lejos. Desde 2018 ocupa un puesto permanente en la Universidad de Oldenburg, donde desempeña como profesor, coordinador de investigación y responsable de relaciones públicas del proyecto UK German Prize Papers. Para todos aquellos que no lo conozcan, el proyecto de Prize Papers es básicamente una digitalización de las capturas británicas de los siglos XVI, XVII y XVIII. He hecho un resumen bastante burdo, seguramente, y que me corregirán posteriormente. Y la presentación, si no les importa, la vamos a realizar en inglés. Si posteriormente alguien tiene alguna pregunta en el turno de preguntas, pues la puedo hacer en inglés o en español, y en caso de que sea en español, pues se lo intentaré traducir yo mismo. Así que nada más. Dr. Lucas, the floor is yours, and you can stand up, take the micro, and feel free to use it. Perfect.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction and for inviting me to speak at this conference. I'm especially excited to be here today because the event offers the opportunity to meet many of our cooperation partners, and it's also wonderful to get to know a lot of new colleagues from Spain. A special thank you to Maria, Marigosa, Fernando, and Eduardo for the really perfect organization. And today I'm not only speaking on my own behalf, but on behalf of the entire German-UK Prize Papers project. Our director, Professor Dagmar Freis, and the project manager, Frank Marquardt Steffler, are both present, and Amanda Bevan, who is head of the Prize Papers team at the National Archives, sends her warm regards as well. I will begin with an overview of the Prize Papers project, which in recent years has opened up and will continue to open up new perspectives on maritime history, privateering, and warfare. These new perspectives will be highly relevant to our discussions today and tomorrow. And in my role as research coordinator in the last years, I have launched several initiatives over the past few years to foster fresh insights, initiatives that we hope to develop further at this conference as part of our commitment to facilitating international cooperation. I will finish with a brief preview of a current project that aims to celebrate international cooperation in 2027, but more on that later. For now, let me start at the beginning. The Prize Papers project is based at the University of Oldenburg in Germany and the National Archives UK. It is part of the Göttingen Academy of Sciences in Lower Saxony, with a prospective funding period from 2018 to 2037. The project is dedicated to the study and the digitization of the Prize Papers collection stored at the UK National Archives, a vast trove of documents and artifacts confiscated by British privateers and Royal Navy ships between 1652 and 1815. These prize papers were collected as the result of the naval practice known as prize taking. During the early modern period, it was common practice by all belligerent parties, including England, France, Spain, later also the United States, to capture enemy ships. This prize-taking was not a lawless act of piracy, but it was a form of legal tactical warfare at sea. The legality of this practice was examined before the Admiralty Court of the Naval Powers. This means that whenever a raid was attempted on a ship, the crucial requirement for ensuring the legality of this action was that the captor was able to prove before the court that the captured ship actually belonged to an enemy during the prevailing war. To this end, the ship's papers, also mail in transit found on board, and the personal belongings of the crew were confiscated and transferred to the courts. A court process thus began at the Admiralty Court, where the confiscated papers were used as evidence and then transferred to and stored at the court's archives, where they have survived to this day, waiting to be rediscovered by archivists and historians, linguists, or members of the public. The entire body of evidence, including all documents and artifacts, have been preserved, together with their corresponding court files. That is, the practice of prize-taking resulted in a vast archive of the global early modern world, containing documents and court records for more than 35,000 captured ships, held in around 4,088 boxes from all 5 continents. In this map, created by Jelle van Lotto, we see only the Dutch ships captured, yet it already reveals the collection's global scope. So the prize papers truly represent the early modern global maritime world. The question now arises what awaits us in these archive boxes. Firstly, books and papers on all manner of legal, commercial, maritime, colonial and administrative matters can be found. And for today's talk, I've included selected documents from our most recent launch event on Spanish ships. These include religious texts, books, notebooks, and letters, offering a cross-section of the diverse records represented in the collection. Letters are often the feature that most capture public interest. The collection includes hundreds of thousands of letters undelivered. They were kept in court archive because they were personal belongings of the captain or the crew, or were part of the mail in transit on board. The letters stored in the chambers of the captain, for instance, or crew, or in the hold of the ships in mailbags, were considered potential evidence as documents found on the captured vessels. And many of the letters remain in their original condition, as the slide shows, with some addressed to various destinations in Spain, including Madrid and Cadiz from the 40s. These letters are real time capsules, which we are preserving. As such, hundreds are even still sealed, still closed, because the content of the letters was irrelevant to the courts. And we currently, Amanda and Randolph currently estimate that there are around 160,000 letters in the prize papers collection. However, we are currently unable to provide exact numbers because the collection has yet to be fully catalogued, so we don't know. What we know for sure is that the letters capture the voices of men, women, and children from all social strata, many of whom would otherwise have been lost to history. And the fact that we are discovering so many women's letters in particular will profoundly shape future research. The prize papers thus certainly represent an important new side of global cultural heritage. This is also reflected in the variety of languages in which the surviving letters are written. Documents in at least 19 different languages have been identified so far, and centrally positioned at the top you can see one of my favorite Spanish letters from the release, featuring a drawing of a heart. This is what I can understand. Last but not least, alongside the written material is a variety of artifacts, including jewelry, textiles, playing cards, and keys. And within the Prize Papers project, we catalog and digitize every document and every artifact, making them freely available online for researchers worldwide. And we will ultimately provide the public with 3.5 million images. The aim of the Prize Papers project is the complete digitization and sorting of the prize papers, including the preservation of the collection's material, the initial and in-depth cataloging, the creation of research-oriented metadata, and finally, the presentation of the digital copies and the metadata in the open access research data portal. Many of you have already worked with the documents or explored the portal. For those of you who haven't, the portal currently provides free access to the records from our first module, the War of Austrian Succession, 1739 to 1745, and we are in the process of adding hundreds of thousands of documents on the remaining 15 course we will cover in the coming decade and a half. So the current modules are the American War of Independence and the wars of the 17th century. But even now, the material is available online and it yields fresh insights. For example, the prize papers portal includes digitized images of ships such as the Agata Galera and the Covadonga, which we will discuss in the forthcoming papers by Professor Maria Zavira Inaraya and Alejandro Salamanca. So anyone seeking an initial introduction to the collection will find it here. In order to create global awareness for the collection and to introduce our visitors to the richness and diversity and the search possibilities of the prize papers, we have published representative case studies of documents that were found aboard captured ships seized during the War of the Austrian Succession, and we have now French, neutral, and Spanish ships case studies online. So if you're looking to delve deeper into the collection, those are great places to start. Our goal in our daily work, however, is to draw attention to this collection to researchers worldwide by combining the efforts of all teams involved, inviting people to explore the historical records at the National Archives, and to enable international research on this collection worldwide, barrier-free, with open access to every single piece of paper of this collection in our prize papers portal, managed and hosted from Germany. The prize papers constitute a record collection of international cultural heritage, and as such, ensuring universal access to it represents a central motivation of our project. So we have historians, linguists, senior researchers, early career researchers, students, pupils, genealogists, family historians, and general members of the public who are interested in this collection. And engaging with and reaching out to this broad and diverse target group is imperative to our mission, and identifying suitable ways and means to achieve this is ultimately, you will see I have a favorite shirt, my role as research coordinator and PR manager since 2018, coming to the second shorter part of this presentation. Due to our main task of the complete digitization and the presentation of the entire collection in the data portal, we aspire to become a point of contact for numerous projects, individuals and institutions from around the world, both now and in the future. We seek to promote, enable, and support research on global development, seafaring, migration, conflict, communication, linguists of various national languages and regional particularities, as well as on transnational and cross-country phenomena, because we bear substantial responsibility due to the diverse and multilingual global nature of the collection of the prize papers. And in order to reach this goal of becoming a nodal point, we are pursuing different strategies. And given the limited time, I will only give a quick overview. Our project places great importance on research networking and collaboration with international research. So the project engages in various research projects and cooperates with international researchers and research institutions in the Netherlands, in Sweden, in Belgium, Germany, and the United Kingdom, France, Denmark, Brazil, the Faroe Islands, and the United States. And we are very delighted to have recently added Spain to this list of close partners. Within the project itself, we've assembled an international team also that brings together experienced and young staff members to enable a lasting, sustainable work atmosphere and a shared, long-lasting vision. We are completed by research students and international interns. One of our last interns is now a postdoc researcher with her own project of Basque letters. We organize and support university seminars where many students show great interest in the prize papers. So also we have students here, which is always a good sign. Last year, I went on a research trip to London with my students as part of a seminar, for instance, which is also possible. And in another seminar, we developed a board game about the prize papers. As a key element in research promotion, whenever researchers express interest in working with us, especially those with specialized knowledge in languages, in particular languages also, we offer the position of associated researchers, and one of those associated researchers, a dear friend of mine, Alejandro, will present his book tomorrow morning. So you will all have to come. We've also started a volunteer program for members of the public at TNA and also in Oldenburg and online. So if you want to join as a volunteer, you are very welcome to help us. Working with school children is also important to our team, not only to introduce schools to this collection, but also to enable teachers to work with these historical sources, so all generations are interested. Some of my personal highlights in the preparation and also the management of our international collaborations are presented in the next few slides. So last year we established a partnership with the Slave Voyages project and database, which will link its extensive data on Atlantic slavery with the resources available in the prize papers. Secondly, a cooperation with colleagues from the Faroe Islands has been established. Together we observed the opening of several parcels originating from the Faroe Islands that remained sealed for 217 years, and we found, as you can see, a red sweater. We have recently partnered with the Naval Documents of the American Revolution project at the Center for Digital Editing, University of Virginia, and the Basque project in France, and the initiative led by Professor Haasis at Heidelberg University, together with their colleagues Marina Serrano-Marin and Marta Puente Gonzalez, who are with us today also. Thank you for joining us, and thanks to the organizer for accommodating their participation on such short notice. And then, last but not least, I'm delighted to highlight the collaboration that brought us here to this event, our partnership with the Catreta International CEU Elcano, initiated by Professor Maria Isabella Neraya. And we are very happy about this cooperation, and it already started very fruitfully. And as the slides show, making our collaborative framework transparent and paving the way for future research projects are priorities for us, and we look forward to working together in the years ahead. This collaboration is the direct result also of our last launch event, where we published documents from 130 Spanish ships in the portal, culminating in a visit from the Spanish ambassador to the UK. What else are we doing? The last building block of our cooperation strategy is outreach. We've organized research workshops, for instance. We have and will continue to appear at international conferences and to promote the project at public events with a more general audience. So, for example, just a short insight, I did a presentation for pensioners. They loved letter folding, as you can see, and as part of a citywide pub crawl, I presented the project at a bar, which was a really interesting experience, as you can imagine. We were featured in the New York Times, the Guardian, and German newspapers, and of course we were featured in many reports in Spain following the launch event. In order to extend the collaborations to more non-European partners, we have also organized international conferences with a special focus on Africa and Asia. In the 5th consecutive year, we are hosting an online lecture series called the Prize Papers Talk, and if you would like to join these talks, you're very welcome to join us. You just have to subscribe to the mailing list, sending us an email, or visit our social media accounts. We also do more classical outreach activities as blogs, radio, podcasts, YouTube videos, radio tips. And the news podcast is featured by the National Archives on the Record, which gives listeners more behind-the-scenes impression of sorting, but also research cooperation. Last but not least, we have organized exhibition on the collection, so far in London, Berlin, and Cebu in France. And to conclude my presentation today, I would like to highlight one of my current exhibition projects, an initiative at the German Maritime Museum, where an exhibition on the prize papers is scheduled to open in 2027. And by focusing on a single representative ship, the exhibition will illustrate both the global scope of the prize papers and the international research devoted to the papers. And perhaps during the conference, we can explore ways to involve Spanish partners as well in this exhibition, which I would really appreciate. So looking ahead to 2027 is a fitting way to close my presentation. I'm currently on a research year at the German Maritime Museum, where I'm working on my habilitation, but also at this exhibition about the Bremen ship Concordia, based on the prize papers. And although the Concordia was a Bremen-built ship, it holds significance also on a true global level. Its capture and the wealth of surviving documents make it a cornerstone of international prize papers research, an opportunity rather than a limitation for this project. So in 1758, during the 7 Years' War, the British captured the Concordia in the English Channel while it was sailing from the Caribbean island of St. Eustatius to Amsterdam. And this slide shows the reconstructed route of this ship. It first called it Cadiz, which explains the presence of a Spanish boy on board, and then sailed to Ireland and continued the Caribbean and was ultimately captured. So although the ship sailed under the neutral flag of Bremen during the 7 Years' War, the British suspected it of smuggling and turning the ensuing court process into a very lengthy, complicated affair. So it took 6 years before they figured it all out. To support their claims, the authorities scrutinized virtually every document found on board this ship, and exhaustive investigation that benefits us today because it's all there, still in the archive boxes. So dozens of archive boxes still hold every piece of writing, ranging from logbooks, notebooks to letters, and even playing cards. So these sources offer exceptionally detailed insight into the life of an 18th century merchant ship. And the exhibition will feature a series of case studies that illustrate the vessel's exemplary global reach, while simultaneously spotlighting the worldwide network of scholars working on the prize papers. So each partner institution will represent one type of document, a person, or a particular place, harbor, linked to the Concordia. And commitments are already in with Sweden, because it's had Swedish sailors, Netherlands, St. Eustatius, so present-day Statia in the Caribbean, and the UK, while partnerships with France, Poland, and Spain are still pending. So the image on the left-hand side depicts St. Eustatius, which at the time was a free port, where ships of every flag, and you can see a lot of different flags, including enemy nations, regularly anchored, making the Concordia story so strikingly international. So ultimately, the exhibition aims to convey both the life world of the ship and the broader global maritime economy of the 18th century, while also reflecting the vibrant state of present-day maritime research on this period. So it allows to tell us large stories of commodity flows, shipping routes, maritime law, and it also uncovers intimate stories shaped by these larger currents. For example, a packet of letters that traveled from the Caribbean to Bremen, where we are coming from, Oldenburg, close to Bremen, and on to a village of just 20 inhabitants, so the world became very small. Oh, my favorite document, the sailor Johann Pohl, who taught himself to write in a special exercise book in the bow, so he could send a handwritten christening poem to his newborn daughter back home. Taken together, these sources paint a vivid, bustling picture of the period, a wall-sized cultural panorama built from countless voices, and the exhibition will mirror that panorama, offering diverse angles of surviving materials from the range of spoken languages. So we have German, English, Dutch, Spanish, French, Yiddish, Greek, and to everyday life and to work on board. So in short, the Concordia enables a global microhistory of the 18th century in Francesca Tribellato's sense of the term. And we will hear more about it from Alejandro tomorrow. The life of a single individual is reconstructed in order to pursue the most elusive of all global histories assignments, to understand the multiple and overlapping connections across cultures and groups from the perspective of the actors involved in them, rather than from the point of view of the institutions that created the structures for the flourishing of those interactions and that generated most of the documentary traces that memorialize them. So the project is at the moment in the planning stage, the very beginning, in the research phase. So all the partners have started doing research. I'm currently working with a colleague, Oliver Urea from Flinders University in Australia, to create, as a start, a 3D model of the Concordia that visitors will eventually be able to explore virtually. And this marks the very first step toward the exhibition. And I'm already looking forward to the stages ahead. So should anyone be interested in helping me with this exhibition for the Spanish part, I'm very much looking forward to working with you, especially on the life of the Spanish boy. So feel free to reach out either at this event or via email or through my social media channels. And with this, I can say thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lucas. So it's fantastic to know more about the prize papers. As you know, it's a collection of documents that were captured during the warfare during the 17th and 18th century, mainly by the British. So I have a question for you, Dr. Lucas. Have you found any interesting story, because most of the people do not know anything about prize papers.
Mm-hmm.
So to bring the attraction of the people to these documents, can you, refer any kind of document which has been very interesting for you and for the historians?
I mean, for me, it was, I first worked on a merchant archive, which I found back in the days, let's put it that way. A complete merchant archive found in the bow of the ship. That was his complete records from 2 years, and on this I based my dissertation. So this was already an interesting find, and then the Concordia was a very interesting find because so many international sailors were on board. So I have really documents from 7 different nations, if you will, and this was really surprising for me that it was so international, and that it was very intimate also. So as you can see, the very simple sailor even offered me insights because he learned to write on board of the ship, and we still have the documents from him. But I can say that everyone who starts working in the prize papers will find such a treasure, so to say. So as I said, one of my favorites was the Faroe Islands packets. It was 5 packets, and we didn't know what's in there. So we opened them with Faroe colleagues from Faroe Islands, and there was a red sweater in it. There was money in it. There was a lot of different things, socks, white stockings, because they had 49,000 socks on board of this ship, so 5 have survived. So this draw a lot of attention to our social media channels, of course. So, but I can say every document in this collection is very interesting. So you have to explore it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, please. Yeah. Sí, sí, sí. Perfecto, sí.
Just one remark and one question. The question is technical. I've been looking at the web page. I've been involved in this before, but I'm not sure if you are already involved in extracting digitally the text from the papers or not yet.
So at the moment, our main aim is to sort it first because it's uncatalogued, a lot of it, sort it, and then to digitize it and to provide it to researchers worldwide. But of course, we're also working on automatic text recognition. We are part of the READ Corporation, so Transcribos. But our goal at the moment is the first 2 parts. But of course, we're experimenting also with extraction.
You expect that at the end, they will be recognized, they will have recognized it.
Yes, I won't promise it now, because you should never promise it until you arrive there, but we're working on that and it is possible. So, and there are other projects who work on this and transcribe it, so it will be there, yeah.
My other remark or observation has nothing to do with the prize papers project, but I would like you to tell me, if you go back to the picture with the ships in the bay, all those flags that the ships had, what do you think they represented? The nation or the navies?
All those sailors on board. That's a tricky question. So for privateering, it's important that it represents the state behind it, so to say. So you have to prove that it's an enemy station, an enemy.
I prefer in particular those ships were merchant ships.
Yeah. So all of them were merchant ships, and they had to decide which flag they flew during the time.
But those flags represented the nations or the navies?
Nations. So it's more or less, it's merchant ships, but the capturing parties. So we have both. We have the privateers and the Royal Navy ships of the British, of course. So on this side, so to say, we have the Navy ships. And I think, Frank, you have to correct me, sometimes they would also capture Navy ships. So, for instance, in battle, we have some Navy ships captured, but it's mostly merchant ships, yes.
And it really, maybe I can add to that, it really shows the diversity of the prize papers. So, for example, one of my favorite documents are letters from women from Tenerife. Their husbands are gone, and they are telling in these letters how they cope with the situation on Tenerife. And we have these insights in their private lives on that island. I mean, the island was the center point for everything that goes to the Americas in the 18th century, as you probably all know. So there was a lot of British privateering around these islands. And we have these insights in private lives, but we also have captured Spanish ships, for example, where they kept a lot of material because it was important for intelligence. When they captured a ship from the Spanish Armada, it was very clear that it was a Spanish military ship. So they didn't need the documents for the court process. While on neutral ships, they needed it as evidence that there was smuggling, as Lucas said, or contraband on board, or when they captured British fish, they kept it as intelligence. So there's a huge diversity, and for the war of succession, we have all the Spanish ships, for example, already in borderless. We have this contraband referred to, so you can already explore the diversity of these letters that we have on the gathered documents.
Okay.
This is also why they kept some of the letters closed, because they were not of interest. So more or less the very private letters are still closed because no intelligence in there, no proof of relationships with merchants or something. So this is the reason why a lot of letters are still closed, while others are opened with intelligence.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lucas. Thank you very much to the audience. I'm going to ask you to remain here seated, okay?
Yeah.
We are going to continue with the next session.